Hi, and welcome back to Edinburgh Napier Jazz's Do You Like Jazz? Today we're joined with Theo, Will, Sonny, and me, Rachel. And Theo, what are we going to be listening to today?
We're going to be listening to a collection of songs by corto.alto, which is the acclaimed brainchild of Liam Shortall. He's a Glasgow jazz musician. He released five kind of EP volumes, all called Live from 435. So I picked out a couple of my favourites, and I've got some kind of notes to talk about it, listen to the music, and hear his development over the volume. So play the first track straight away, and then talk a bit more about it after.
Yeah, go for it. So the first track is from Volume 1, and it's called No. Okay, that was called No. So, actually, first I'm going to go, Sonny, what did you think of that?
That was really insane. The energy of that is like so peak. Like, I mean, it comes out the start. There's that really nice like they're kind of all playing the same thing together, and then it just went like pretty crazy and pretty like intense, but in a really cool way. Um, the piano solo, I'm pretty sure. So it's Fergus McCready on keys. Um, the piano solo was insanely busy as well. Um, Pretty cool. I think it really matched. It did match the energy, and it kind of led quite well into. Is it Harry Weir on saxophone?
It could have been Harry. Could have also been Matthias
Yeah,
on tenor sax, but
that
I'm
was
not too
really
sure.
cool. And then Graham Costello, his drum solo, is bonkers.
Yeah, definitely a real fusion of different genres there. I was like, it really invoked a lot of imagery when I was listening to it. It just, especially like Fergus McCready's solo on the piano, it kind of reminded me of like Japanese city pop, like kind of 80s style, just really busy and really fun. Really taking like the kind of lead in that. And then like moving on, it kind of like it went somewhere else, and it kind of reminded me of like some of like Disney's like jazz, some of Disney's jazz stuff as well, because I know like a lot of Disney's jazz is like really quite incredible. A lot of it's written by the guy who wrote You Got a Friend in Me.
Oh, Randy Newman.
Yeah, a lot of it is written by him actually, and it's like fantastic. Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of most corto.alto stuff, this is it's so busy in terms of instrumentation. It's a real opener for everything corto. I think this is probably the first track he released, out of this like single run that he done for a year. So, this is obviously live from 435. It's 5 volumes, and it was all recorded like over a year. And so that's every 3 weeks, I believe. Like every third Friday, he released a single. This has a video. The same with all the other tracks we'll listen to. They all have accompanying videos, and it was essentially Liam Shortall's way of forcing himself to release music.
Mm-hmm.
So as you're saying there's so many different genres and things you can pick out. So it's really early, like compositional stuff where you're just hearing all these different influences like peek through, and but you're still hearing a lot of traditional kind of jazz influence of like, you know, a solo kind of thing. They're coming back to that, that they're tying in between solos and every now and then, and you're hearing that mixed up. But I mean, what a track to kind of start off with.
I know,
just
yeah.
ripping.
Like so much busier than what we've previously listened to as well. A lot of the stuff is like on the previous listenings, we kind of like look at stuff and go, oh, that was really cool, this bit was like quite busy, this thing was just a wall of sound.
Totally.
It was brilliant.
It's that kind of new jazz that's coming through there.
Yeah, definitely. What's so cool also is that 435 is just the number of the flat on Soggy Hall Street, right?
Literally.
And it's right next to a busy road, so it's not like the ideal space for a recording studio. But the thing that's so cool about it is that, I mean, like being students studying music, like you're not really gonna have somewhere that's optimal for recording. So it's kind of cool to also see that something can be so produced like in so highly in just like a normal flat kind of space.
The great thing about that flat is that because it's in Soggy Hall Street, it's like Glasgow's Ibiza Strip basically, and you can make noise till 3 a.m. And so they were recording this all for the night. Like this is all like recorded in his bedroom. I think for this first volume, he got a guy called Stevie Coaster to mix and master it, and that's how he learned to mix and master. And the rest is all done by him, but done by Liam. But if you want, we can probably jump onto the next one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Next track's called Apple. Okay, so that was Apple. Um, that one wasn't as busy as the first one, but it was still so full. Like it started off more chill, then it got fuller. I don't know. Sonny, what do you think?
There's definitely a lot more space in that one. It's so fun. It's like a lot of fun. And I mean, again, the production just sounds really tight and really clean and really nice. Yeah, I mean, there was some like really nice soloing there from Fergus. Like, there was some lines where it was literally just single line, kind of, I think it's, I don't know, Rhodes, I think, or Wurlitzer kind of patch. And that sounded really nice. Like, I really liked the kind of simplicity. And then there's sections where it's just drums and the keys, and then obviously the horns come back in, and that's really cool. Also, there was some like really sick trombone like solo stuff going on there. That was really cool.
Yeah, really utilizing every part of the instrument. You get like hearing like the clicks and the clacks of the trombone, and it's like getting as much noise out of that instrument as possible, and not like sticking to the kind of, oh, this is how it's meant to this is how it's meant to sound, but like trying to work your instrument in different ways, taking inspirations from other little bits of music. It's something that at the Jazz Society we try and push forward, especially just like to try and explore your different instruments and explore like how your instrument can like make interesting sounds. And I think this track does really well to kind of like explain how it's contextualized, and it works really well.
Yeah, definitely. I think it just in general, it's really fun. It's kind of where contemporary jazz should be. It kind of feels exciting when you listen to them, clearly having a bit of a laugh when they're playing along with it. I mean, that trombone solo, it sounds like comical at times, but it works so well. And as you're saying, like all the kind of clicks and clacks, that probably most people would avoid it, but in the nature, there's just, because of all the bleeding from his bedroom, I'd imagine that's just impossible to really cut out. And yeah, I think for most of these songs, it's just exciting. You're kind of thinking, this is what you want to be listened to. For me personally, like it keeps me like excited about jazz.
Yeah, definitely. Just like the kind of not taking it too seriously kind of idea as well. That it kind of rings true to Sarah Vaughan's live performance as well. Of just like, they're having a jam, they're having a laugh. Although, you can really enjoy this stuff as well. You can get really into it and be like super hyper focused. Like there's obviously like quite a lot of there's like a lot of good musicianship in this group, and it like really blows me away. But it's also not taking itself too seriously, because you can't really, especially nowadays in jazz. And I think maybe that's something that Continuo fails to do at times. I know Amos Hoffman, he kind of, he likes to do his little silly intro, which I kind of think is quite humorous. But apart from that, it's like quite a serious album. And I think this kind of, it's serious, but it kind of takes a little bit of humor in its sound.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I meant to ask, what instruments what's the guy that's his project?
So he's playing trombone and guitar. There's also another guitarist, and sometimes there is another trombone player, Nushi, who features on a few songs. But you'll hear in this one that was a lot more guitars like kind of sitting there. I think some songs he just sticks on guitar, some songs he like switches or just stays on trombone. But he's leading everything as well.
All right. Okay, we can move on. So the next track is called Better, featuring Kitty.
I don't wanna take it back in time. It's all that you took from me, and it wasn't what I needed. I don't wanna go back to that. And I know if you could choose, I'd be back there.
that was better. So, well, why don't we start with you? What do you have to say?
I feel like I've heard that song somewhere before, and I don't know where. It's kind of like I think I think someone in our class may have sampled it or something. I thought it was you, Theo, but yeah, really nice guitar part. Like really catchy as well, and lovely shuffle on the drums at the end, especially. And it's not vocal focused, if you get what I mean, but it's still it's a song, and it kind of works quite well as that. But yeah, it's quite clear that he's like kind of the instrumentalist, I think, and he like controls everything on that front. But yeah, great sound.
Well, yeah, I guess it wasn't like the other albums we've been listening to where maybe the vocalist is the one that's leading it, so they get to like show off. Although she is kind of showing off, but you know what I mean, where it's like it's clearly more emphasis on the instruments here.
It might
Yeah.
be something to do with the mix. It might just be like mixed a bit quieter, kind of like, so it's subconsciously in the background. Maybe, I don't know. It sounds really cool though. I quite like
Yeah.
it.
I just like that for a song, normally your main focus is the vocals, but it was more like the instruments were still getting to be busy and like show off. Like, Sonny was saying to me there as I was playing, like, oh, the drums were doing this really cool thing. It was like really fast at the end between the ride and the kick, and yeah, I just think it's cool that the instruments still get to shine through.
Yeah, and it's not cluttered either. It's busy. It's not cluttered though. Everyone has like their own separate little space within the mix, and it works like, and that's how a mix really should be. And I'm very surprised that they managed to get it that busy without it sounding like, all this like kind of noise and build up. But really good.
I found that really added, like, because it was really busy, and then there was obviously like the sections where it kind of there was stops and things, and there was a little bit where it was just like kind of spacey guitar just on its own, and then it came back in. But at the end when it stopped, it was like, what was that? It stopped there. It was like such a clean stop that they easily could have kept going. So I think it would be nice to like listen to this song back to back with the next song in this volume, unless that was the last one.
No, I think there's one more.
Yeah, it would be interesting to listen.
It's the last one actually.
Oh, right. That's so interesting,
Yeah.
because it feels like that could easily go straight back into something else. And it's probably something they've played with if they're playing this live. Do they play this live?
I actually don't know. I've seen them live before, and funny enough, Kitty supported them, but they never done this song, which is a shame. But no, I've never seen it.
Super cool, though.
Yeah, it's interesting because they stop on the 4 as well. I know like lots of bands like will have like a sudden stop. I mean, including my trad band. Like we have a trad song called Catharsis, which we stop on the 1, and it's like it's an abrupt stop, but it's kind of a powerful ending. But this ends on the 4, which means it's kind of suspenseful, but it's not being answered at all. It's just that's it. Bye.
It was written by Liam, and Kitty helped, so they wrote the song together with Tom Maguire.
All right.
Tom Maguire and the Brass Hose is another project that Liam's involved with, as well as many others. Everyone that you'll hear kind of playing, they're all involved in different projects. He also plays in Aku, which is run by Harry Weir, and he plays in Strata, which is run by Graham Costello. So Harry Weir's tenor saxophonist, and Graham Costello is obviously the drummer. Do you want me to actually? I can run through the people that are involved here just while I've got the list. So the people that they've been touring with, at least, like it changes throughout the volumes for probably who was available every 3 weeks. But so there's Graham Costello, who's playing drums, Harry Weir on tenor sax, Matthias Sobeski, I hope I'm saying that right, I don't know, on tenor sax as well, James McKay on guitar, Fergus McCready on keys, and the bassist, I actually couldn't find his name, but I know they're touring with Luca Pisano.
Does you and Hasty play with them at all?
I don't know.
Because all these guys studied at RCS.
Yes.
Or a large amount of them. I don't think Norman Wilmore did, and there's probably a few of them others who didn't. But that's how I kind of think, like, so if you're going to do a jazz, like if you're going to pursue jazz in Scotland and you're going to go and study it, RCS is the place you go in Scotland. And that was started by Tommy Smith, who's like a saxophone player who he's played with Chick Corea. He's like been all around America. Like he's kind of up there in terms with players. So he started the RCS course, and it's like there's a lot of really good jazz musicians coming out of it, and I think part of that is that they come out of that course specifically, and this is something that would be interesting to talk to them about. But like, I'm not sure. I think the course is very.
It's player focused, isn't it?
It's very
It's just like
technique focused, I think. And so I think what they do is they come out of the course and then they go like, don't want to do that. I want to do this, and they do their own thing, but they are able to do it really well. And it means there's such a tight knit community of jazz musicians like in Glasgow, which is really cool as well.
No, it's a good scene for sure, especially for new jazz music.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the next song is from Volume 2. This is called Pressure Tom Spirals.
In tune to the original jazz jungle, it sounds straight out the Glasgow town to make the people them rock and gather round. Corto.alto in session featuring Tom Spirals. Ready, run it.
Said it's a real thing, pressure. Yes, I know now. Said it's a real thing, pressure, ayy.
Whoa, said it's a real thing, pressure. Yes, I know now. Said it's a real thing, pressure, ayy. Boom! Anyone can get caught up in an anxiety, feeling like they're not the one that they are meant to be, thinking that the song they sing is sounding out of key. Some they lose their melody when no one listen properly. Come with the people rock, man, I say come with the people move. Come with the people feeling pressure just like you. Come with the people open, man, say come with the people free. Come with the people let go of their anxiety. Deep down in the dance with the vibe of fear. No need to fret, man, we moving as one. No matter where you go, but tell her where you come from. You're not alone, man, say yes, you belong. Come, whoa. Said it's a real thing, pressure. Yes, I know now. Said it's a real thing, pressure, whoa. Check. Link with the people, link with the music, link with the rhythm and flow. Pressure heavy place, sweaty hot like Mexico. I don't care where you come from and I don't care where you go. All the tribe are welcome, rock up, enjoy the show. So enter the place with a smile on your face, the vibes them up to grow. Feel it jump up, skank out, move by their on patrol. Say corto.alto, yeah, them at the control. You want top spirals, rock up on the microphone, hey. move up on your feet. Oh well, fantastic. Yeah man, corto.alto them there, got Glasgow streets. Ready? Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. Said it's a real thing, pressure. Yes I know now. Said it's a real thing, pressure, pressure, ayy. A real thing, pressure. Yes I know now. Said it's a real thing, pressure, pressure, ayy. Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. Said it's a real thing, pressure. Yes I know now. Said it's a real thing, pressure, pressure, ayy.
Okay, that was Pressure. That was insane. That was I don't even know what genre that was. We were all saying that like it was like a weird fusion, but it wasn't really sticking to one at one point. And then like the drums, I feel like everyone's, I don't know, maybe it's just me. Is everyone else's attention just constantly on the drums?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. Theo, do you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, I for me personally, I think the overarching kind of thing of this is jungle. Like with Tom Spiral's kind of unique like addition to corto.alto here, it just really shines through. It's just jungle to me, and then adding in that good old flair of the solo sections coming through again, just really playful, keeping up that energy. He has a good way of dynamics, because as we're saying, we're listening to jumps, everything's really technical and it sounds really exciting, but there is bits throughout that song where it drops down and there's a playing with your ears, and so that I mean that song's 6 minutes. We've listened to a 7-minute one, which was Apple, and no, it's 6 minutes 31, but it's the quickest 6 minutes ever because you're constantly like attaching to different things. You're not getting bored of anything, which I think is really special. It's the only one that I've picked to listen to from Volume 2, just because I think this is one of my favourites. But yeah, it's a good old fun one.
Yeah, really intense with the switches and changes in terms of like genre, in terms of style, in terms of drum beat as well. Like the stops, or like trying to count them. It's like I don't know what time signature he was in, and I don't really want to know either. It was brilliant. Kind of reminded me of so it's Shio Fuji. He wrote the Mario Kart soundtrack. He also has another band as well, which this is in Japan, which like has like this really intense. It's basically Mario Kart music like, on steroids. It's really like scary, and kind of has like lots of different genre bending, jazz influenced stuff, and like really intense. That was really cool though. I don't know particularly what jungle music is. There's like a part of like music, kind of like the hyper pop, garage, all that stuff, which I just don't know about, and I just kind of bundle it all into one and just kind of go that sort of music, I guess. Something I need to kind of educate myself on a little bit, I think. But yeah,
there's a documentary on the BBC that came out kind of recently, which is about jazz in Scotland, and Liam Shortall was interviewed along with Nushi and Mateus, and they have a night called Glitch 41 at the Rum Shack, which is something I do need to go there. and essentially it's kind of like an onstage jam, and it's like fusion between like hip hop, jungle, jazz, like a bunch of different stuff. I think they did mention in the interview that like the problem with calling it like a jazz kind of jam or something like that is it does kind of deter people a little bit. But they started it up, and it's like sold out every single time, and that's really cool. And I think that one of the things in the documentary that it was saying was that the identity of jazz in Scotland is not really like a sound; it's more like a DIY aesthetic, which I think that kind of like aligns a little bit, especially with this kind of stuff, because it is like because there's sort of a lack of representation for jazz in Scotland. They're like the jazz musicians are just doing it themselves, and I think you can really see it with like Liam Shortall and that whole group.
Oh, when was this documentary set?
Literally like last year, or yeah, I think it was last year.
Damn, if we were only 1 year earlier, we could have been interviewed.
Yeah, but really cool stuff.
Okay, cool. So the next one is from Volume 3, and this is called Number Part 2. Oh wait, it's called Number Part 2. I just said that wrong. No, Part 2.
This is following up from the first song in Volume 1 called No.
Oh, so
It's
he's
part 1,
self-referential.
part 2, and then in their most recent EP, which we won't listen to, there's a part 3. I'll play it through.
that was no part 2. Just for time wise, we're just gonna move right on to the next one. So the next one is called Squonk. ending was very squonk. I feel like, I don't know. That's all I have to say. The ending was very squonk.
Yeah,
Nice
well,
one,
keeping with the tradition with not taking it too seriously, like really intense sounds and kind of, like, I guess the kind of first instinct would be to like kind of laugh if you heard that like out of context, but like with the context of the rest of the song, it's kind of like it makes sense. It's like really angry. It's like really shows like the kind of rage of the song. Like the bass line is like pretty scary. Like a lot of the parts of the song were pretty scary as well. I was like listening to Fergus McCready just kind of just absolutely just slamming his keys. God, must have been very angry.
Yeah, I think this one especially, like, from what I know, Liam tends to write from like guitar ideas or like kind of melodies comes up in his head, and that it's such a guitar riff. Like that's that you hear the kind of inspiration come from there. But then in terms of like his writing for brass, it shines through from his like trombone experience, and he also plays with like loads of different. He's played in big bands. He's played in kind of youth jazz bands as well.
I think he plays for the Scottish National Jazz Orchestra.
He does, yeah. He's toured a bunch with them as well. Or he used to. I don't know if he still does, like Japan and US and stuff like that. But one thing that he mentions as well for like his part writing, and you can hear it come across here. He says that though he's writing, scores and stuff like that and handing it out to players, with brass people, I suspect it's probably a bit more, on to the score. But he says he likes to let like Fergus and Graham and those other players just add their own influence to it, especially for like part writing, and he just lets them shine because he knows that they're all very capable, talented musicians, and it's really interesting to hear the outcome of that. So it's quite cool.
Definitely. I would say definitely squonk for that one. Again, really like the contrast between when it's like there's a lot going on and then it just cuts out and there's like some single line stuff. I think that's really cool. And definitely like gives the spaces a lot of impact, and then coming back in like gives the actual piece a lot of impact as well.
Because I was listening to the Ride quite a lot. It's weird because sometimes he's playing like quavers, and sometimes he'll throw in like random semi-quavers. Sometimes he does triplets on there as well, and it's just like, I don't know, it's just constantly changing. I feel like there's not a single part that you're like, that's going to do the same, unless I'm wrong. I don't know. But I feel like all of it is constantly like not sticking. It like constantly keeps going through developments.
Yeah, it definitely develops. Isn't like doing that kind of stuff on a ride quite tricky just because it's not very I'm not a drummer obviously, but it's not very like bouncy in terms of like bounce back, or like do you have to do something like weird with it?
No, I mean, it's kind of the same, like you just do that. Well, no one can see what I'm doing. But it's all right. It's like the same because obviously it's not going to be as reboundy as like a snare would be maybe. But no, I'd say it's more hard for timekeeping wise, like to constantly switch your brain between like that and then triplets and back, because it's not like he sits on it for a while. Like he was going to triplets for like maybe like a bar, like 2 bars coming back. So it's like I'd say that's more complicated than the. But also it was fast.
Using different measures and stuff. Brian will love this.
Yeah.
Actually, this maybe would be Bryden's thing. I don't know.
I can probably.
All right, well, let's move on to the next song, which is from Volume 5, and it's called Is That It? And it's feature... I don't know how to pronounce his name. Do you know, Theo?
Sweeto Kinch, I believe.
All right.
This is also the last one of Volume 5, live from 435. It's the last one.
said so. So if you know, then you dig it, let's go. Climb up inside, slide, switch the stars, line in the aisles, lines intertwined like it's fine acrylic. Knitted wires to enlarge, shift alignments, inclined to glide like a pilot, but the sky's the limit. Over wide rivers, city heights, and high spirits, lit the fires, feel the vibes, we combine it in. Widen my irises, giant size, dialing inside, kittens to the side for the science in it. See, evil never treats karma. We let the mind heed the call, let the feet answer. Need to ascend the heights where the brightest stars are. Trying to light the darkness with the mind of Parker.
Okay, well, I don't even need to say the song title because it just said it. But that was Is That It? And which is the last song on Volume 5.
It is indeed.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, do you want to go first?
Yeah, super catchy, kind of just like riff as you would. I think you can kind of hear it. It sounds like he's written it on guitar again. Just like really cool, really catchy, and just a bit more kind of maybe classic song focused rather than going nuts again. But definitely something you could find that being played like outside of like jazz rooms. I don't think that's. I think it's like pretty open to interpretate. So
It was less nuts, but it definitely had its little, like that little bit where there's a drop out, like a drop out, I think there was, and then it was like just the drums. They did that weird thing, and then everyone's back in. So it's like it's still that fun free vibe, I think.
yeah, it's all very free and it's all very fun, and again, not taking like they're just having fun with it at the end of the day. But like this seemed to be like more of a. Is this quite popular in terms of his listens or?
Yeah, I think this
yeah.
one's one of the more popular ones.
I think yeah,
I can actually check.
it makes sense why it is. I quite a lot from the 4-3-4-5 or 5-4
4-3-5.
4-3-5. There you are. But yeah, quite a lot from that is like up like at near the top of his most listened to. I think.
Yeah, I think this is it's such a nice way to end it because as you're saying, it's much more song or focus. It's less kind of like chucking in a solo here, and I think that shows his development as a, you know, as a musician doing composition. Like he says that this was to force him to release music, and coming from the first track, which is No, which was absolutely mental, it's everything of his mind all at once, to this is becoming more and more refined over time. A nice kind of way to end off his year of, you know, releasing singles every 3 weeks. This was his kind of saying, like, yeah, that's me done. And he called it Is That It? Because at the time he wasn't really sure if he was going to do anything more. And then obviously his next EP, when he released it, he called it Not For Now. So that was kind of a cool little call and response thing added in there. And it's great to see like someone like that is really focused on just honing their sound, and it really shines through. Especially with the amount of people he's dealing with. He's so involved in collaboration and wants to get so many people involved and kind of working through that, and creating sound is great.
His sound is so layered and complex. It's a little bit difficult to decipher what is his sound, I guess, just because it's like there's just so much going on, and it kind of feels like there must be more musicians involved with it. I'd feel like kind of like bad for myself if like because like it's just so much. I have like a really specific genre I write, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people do, but he's just taking like there's so much inspiration from lots of different places, and it's like it's really intense.
I mean, what I would imagine is that, you know, he's not going to be like telling Graham on the drums, like, do this hit in this time. Like, I'm guessing that he has the initial idea which he brings to the table, and then when he gets everyone together, it kind of just probably happens in a certain way. And it's even, obviously, this is like his thing, so his direction and the way they would respond to each other, to each other's creative ideas, is probably how this has been created. Not like, in a simple like, oh, he's composed all of it kind of way, but it's just the way in which he is able to work with other musicians has produced sounds like this. And I think what's really nice as well is the continuity between, obviously this stuff was recorded over the course of a year, but there's like definitely continuity between it, like some of the stops and the ways that it's structured and the energies and stuff, it definitely lines up. And then it's also cool to hear that like his EP is called Not For Now. Like I do like that continuity, and I think it's definitely something cool that if you look back at someone's discography, that it all kind of leads on from each other, so it's like kind of an evolution and a journey. I think that's quite cool.
No, definitely. What do you think, Rachel? Overall opinions and
Overall opinions. Well, actually, I'd never really listened to corto.alto before. It was on my list to listen to. I don't know. I think that like if you showed someone that and you were like, "This is also jazz," it would probably open people's like opinions, I guess, a wee bit more. Because it's like, I guess, learning from all of these things is that jazz is really diverse. But this is so cool because it just seems so very like experimental and like he's just having fun. But also you can see him hone in on stuff and like maybe not tweak, but develop it, kind of get his sense of what he's doing. So, and also I like what you were saying, Sonny, about like I just really like when bands or artists self reference. So the fact that this is all linked, and it was a way to force him to make music, but it all links up, and he like references himself. It's good continuity, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and it kind of shows our own continuity with the podcast or the radio show. It's like it definitely shows I think throughout the whole kind of time we've been doing this, we've like had like so many different types of artists showing that this is jazz, but also this is jazz, but also this is jazz. It's, you know, like Continuo and Oscar Peterson's Night Train. That, you know, they've not really got that much to do with each other. But they're still all technically in the same kind of umbrella term. But again, this is a problem with umbrella terms. It's not just this; it's also other things as well.
Yeah, I feel like this. Oh, sorry, Sonny, you go.
That's right.
I was just gonna say, like, I was actually thinking this is probably the closest album, Like this, out of all the albums we've listened to, this is probably one that's closest to real, like Ficky's. But like besides that, all of them have been so different. But what were you gonna say?
I was just thinking, like, imagine getting Oscar Peterson to like meet up with those guys. That would be an interesting thing. It probably wouldn't work. Maybe it would, I don't know.
one thing I noticed is just that all the ones that we have listened to, there's an instrument focus throughout the whole thing, and it's usually piano. You know, it's quite a piano or voice. So everyone, we've got obviously voice coming through. Real Fuku is piano, and Tenyo is what did
It was
Bass.
bass, but it is
bass.
also very piano heavy. Yeah.
You can hear, like, there's one or two instruments that shine through, and there's a horn section obviously that's featured on every single track that blasts through, but it's composition focused. It's about the experience of the song, rather. Even though the players are so technical and they have their show off moments, I still think for me it's great because I think it's potentially someone who's never seen or like listened to jazz like this, and the kind of idea of what it might be can be a bit tough for new listeners. But well, it's technical musicians being technical. But this is like a great way for people to get involved now in younger communities, and you hear Liam and everyone else talk about it, and it's so open. It's a proper, new culture that's coming about, and they just want to share it with everyone. They want it to be so collaborative. They want everyone to get involved. They're having all these different projects at nights just to play and get it done. It's really cool.
I guess the natural next thing to do is to make our own project. So
Yeah,
Definitely inspiring stuff, for sure.
yeah.
definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, if that's us, are we all done our comments?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's wrap it up then, and we'll end with a song going out.
Yeah, I'll play it. I'll
No
play
part 3.
Is there a no part 3?
There's a no part 3. Do you want me to play no part
Go
3?
to play out. No part 3.
No part 3. Here we go.